Hello everybody, it's your boy Proftrof. We're back again with another Mandalore video. Okay, so this has been pretty heavily requested, the 40K Mechanicus review. So let's check it out. Y'all wanted to see it, so we're gonna see it. Okay, we're gonna see it. This intro is pretty cool though. Oh, fuck. For the Emperor. Okay, so they abducted my boy, straight up. Abduction. Okay. Interesting. Good start.
Welcome back to Warhammer. There are no Space Marines this time around. Instead, this game has you playing as the Adeptus Mechanicus, and you're on a field trip / home invasion to rob the Necrons. That may have sounded like gibberish. The Mechanicus have been in some games, usually with the Imperial Guard, but they're not the Imperial Guard. Okay, picture Inspector Gadget, but he's a monk and he fixes your car. Okay, I'll get into the lore.
And he prays to a toaster while rubbing oil all over it.
I'm going to assume you know about the Imperium of Man and all that. The Mechanicus works with the Guard, but they're not part of the Guard. Like, picture Amazon. Imagine it has a giant government contract. Not only do they make and sell knickknacks and random stuff, they also make cars, tanks, guns, ships, and everything else needed to wage a war and also just run the economy in general. That's them, and there is no competition. They make most every gun and vehicle in the Imperial military, so their organization has a lot of sway. This is because when the Imperium was being founded on Earth, they already had their own empire on Mars. They only joined up because their organization was given a ton of autonomy. They got challenged here and there, but we don't have time for those stories. So as virtually the only research and manufacturing center, they get up to...
It's the boy. It's the change memory boy. Fuck, what was his name?
Stuff. Sometimes their experiments have
the Space Marine maker.
legality.
The Primaris.
No, they don't get bothered much. Let's say some smug commissar tries to tell on them for, say, making an AI. Well, they can just say, it's not an AI, there's a human brain in there. How do you know? I promise. Even if you manage to get them in trouble, they might start having manufacturing issues. And then they can't send you vehicles and weapons anymore. Then all your men get eaten by bugs or demons or something. Because this won't work without this. Okay, simple enough. Now, most of the best stuff is hoarded by the AdMech's private army. They're always looking to recover old technology or discover new ones. And there happens to be an ancient alien race with hyper-advanced technology and entire tombs of it. These are the Necrons.
And the problem with Necrons is if you wake them up, they're not very happy. So the chances of them wide opening your butt cheeks, going head first inside, are pretty big.
What is a Necron? Well, they're Terminators in space who hate all life. At least they used to be. Now they have different dynasties and agendas, and they're basically undead space Egyptians. So that's fresh. Necrons have fancy things. The AdMech wants to touch on.
What was that?
So that's fresh.
If you call this a kingdom, I swear by Ptra that I will kill myself right here. Camry TV.
Necrons have fancy things. The AdMech wants to touch all of it. Mechanicus is all about one of those expeditions. Of course, there's a conflict over how much should be preserved rather than destroyed. Those decisions will be up to you. There's no telling what's down there, so let's check it out.
Okay.
One day, the crude biomass that you call the temple will wither, and you will beg my kind to save you.
Okay.
But I am already saved. For the machine is immortal.
Yeah. Your space dragon is immortal. Okay, chill the fuck out. Chill with your little space dragon.
I serve the Omnisire.
That's one hell of a title drop. For starters, this is a turn-based tactical game. There are many levels and mechanics of fighting the Necrons, but we'll hold off on all of that for now.
Okay.
Let's begin with the visuals.
Oh, it looks like it's like fuck, what was that game where you fight the aliens? Shit, y'all know what I mean, right? The first and the second one.
The game is sold at half the price of a
remember
AAA
that.
game, and it looks the part. If you've played other games in the genre, the texture work and detail in the environment isn't going to be the best thing you've ever seen. There's also a depth of field effect on zooming, which I would like if you could adjust it. I actually like the effect when it's subtle, but it's very aggressive here and there's no option for it, so having one would be ideal.
No
I'd
option
still
for
say
depth
this
of
game is
field?
punching
What
above
the
its weight
fuck?
when it comes to the budget. The use of fog, shadows, light, and reflections do help make up for the shortcomings. On a
Oof.
technical level, I'd still say it's good, especially for the genre. There's been a few better, but a lot more
XCOM,
worse,
XCOM,
especially when
yes.
this is being carried by some fantastic art direction. What the environmental detail lacks is made up for by the character models. If anything, the relative minimalism does help accent them. Whenever I saw Tech Priest, I always wondered what all that machinery was even for. I mean, where do you start? Well, now you'll know because every class upgrade, piece
Oh
of war
my
gear, weapon,
God.
equipment, it's all modeled. You can end up with very different looking soldiers and pushed even further by coloring them in. Then you throw in all the troop types you can bring into a fight.
Oh my
They're not as
fucking
customizable, but
God.
they do change visually when they upgrade. It's a nice detail to have. The look of this game is very appealing to me. I think it could be because the detailed and colorful models and the relatively bland surface reminds me a lot of the tabletop game. I mean, technically you actually are playing a tabletop game within a video game. Except when your troops die in-game, they die for real in the game. Wait, the Necrons have minis too, and you can steal them. Okay, we're getting too meta here. The 2D artwork is also great and horrific.
What
the Necrons
the-
have some cool models too. However, the visuals aren't the real star of Mechanicus. It's the sound. What do Apple Store Jawas sound like? Computer sounds, I guess. Yeah, that's about right. Holy shit. I wasn't expecting this. Not only is this an incredibly creative way to not have as much voice acting, it sounds phenomenal. You still have more traditional
sound
stuff
pretty cool.
too.
I have watched you since you dared breach the orbit of our world.
Then you just have the regular sounds of the game.
Okay, creep. Ooh, attack of opportunity. Yo, the sound sounds amazing.
This isn't even the main draw. Neither was the voice acting. It's the music.
Okay, it's pretty good. It's pretty fucking good. By the way, his soldiers are low. They have such low health, what the fuck? He's dying. Oh, 4 damage. Oh fuck. Oh, he's fucked. Jesus. Is that Titan? Oh, not really. A small Titan?
What can I say? No one told me about the soundtrack. It's the most electronic a Warhammer game has gone, and appropriately so. It's very industrial, so the melodies remind me of engines revving. The vocals can change from European medieval monks to, like, Egyptian priests chanting. It's like you're playing with the big boys now from the Prince of Egypt, but the big boy's a Necron Lord. Most electronic music has a bass drop. Mechanicus has a pipe organ.
Okay. Okay,
It's
I
a
don't know what to
supremely
say
creative
to this.
soundtrack, and it's one of
Sounds
my
pretty
favorite
cool.
Warhammer OSTs now. And this is from a franchise with a lot of competition in a music genre that I'm not that into. It's just that good. So overall, the presentation is outstanding. The aggressive depth of field is my only real style issue with it. Besides that, there's an occasional stutter after taking an action, and I think that's an engine thing. It only seemed to be noticeable in some particular maps. Beyond that, it's very stable, and trust me, I've played worse. Speaking of playing, let's talk about that. You can divide the game up into 3 separate sections.
Okay.
First is tomb exploring. There are several kinds of rooms, and different missions have different layouts. If you've played something like Darkest Dungeon, this will be familiar to you, except you can
okay.
see where you're going. With each
Okay.
new room you go to, an awakening meter will increase. This represents the tomb activating more stuff as they become aware of you, and you don't want to wake the Necrons. Starting off, it's not a huge deal. However, the more you explore around, the more horrific this meter will become. Ignoring the objectives of loot means deadlier fights. It's still worth looking around because there are treasure rooms that could give you resources and equipment, as long as you pick the right symbol. But the symbols are
Wait.
consistent. It doesn't
If you can work out what?
treasure rooms that could give you resources and equipment, as long
If you can work out the right commands, then we can reap the rewards
as
with
you
them.
pick the right symbol. But the
Jesus.
symbols are consistent. It doesn't stay a random guessing game. When you
Oh,
pick
okay.
a safe one enough, it even gets highlighted later. Then you have the event rooms, and all sorts of things can happen in here. This is where it becomes pure guesswork. Usually it's, do you want to destroy a weird thing or try to study it? You might wake the Necrons up more, then again you might get some help in an upcoming battle. Now some of you might be going, oh, the game's ruined, I hate that shit. Well, I have good news. There's an option to have symbols appear for the results, so it will
Oh,
no longer
wow.
be completely random.
Thank
In fact,
fucking
while there are
God.
standard difficulties, this game is absurdly customizable. Nearly every mechanic
Oh.
and stat can be adjusted or flat out turned off. You can adjust it to be a walk in the park or the hell crawl that you crave. So just keep that in mind. I'll be coming back to this dungeon part, but I'm gonna move on for now. The second part is the battle. You slap your troops down in a small area and begin the fight. You may be surprised if you thought this was going to be a copy of another game. There's no such thing as accuracy. If the weapon's in range, it hits. No
Oh.
cover system either. You're either out of range or completely
Oh.
obstructed behind something big. Line of sight and weapon range are the name of the game. You can't sit around in Overwatch either. Your tech priests don't know how. They don't want to sit around, they want to touch all everything. There's only one who can Overwatch, and you will learn to hate him. The only units dodging shots will be your own, and only through a special class upgrade. Accuracy may not be an unknown factor, but there are several others. You can gauge your own weapon range, but not that of the enemy, or their potential damage output or abilities. Most importantly, you don't know how much health they have. There are two damage types, physical and
Okay, this is a lot different than XCOM then.
energy, with armor
Jesus.
for both. High armor can completely absorb an attack. This means without intel, you could be firing off useless shots and not even know it. So you could send out a servo skull to find out the stats, and then it gets stuck on cooldown for a few turns, and the skull can do something else. Collect cognition points. Cognition point taking, CPT, is a mechanical activity vital to your success. Most tech priest weapons, and especially the more powerful ones, require cognition points to fire. A lot of active skills use it too. Here's the thing, as long as it's off cooldown, a tech priest can use as many skills and weapons in a turn as they want. If you have points to spend, you can do it. If you have a point, you can sprint outside of normal move range. Once again though, you can keep doing this. So if you have the points for it, you can just run all over the map. This is your lifeblood. The easiest way to get it is grabbing it off map objects. These refresh when a turn phase is over. You can find special war gear to get it, you can get it through skills. As the game goes on, you find more sophisticated ways to keep that meter filled. Even defeated enemies have some on the body. So with careful strategy, you can keep that meter in balance. Instead of just shooting a robot, you can have a Radio Shack man stand next to it, so when he gets shot, he can collect the point. Then again, maybe you should just try to get rid of the bodies immediately. They're Necrons.
They fucking resurrect.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. Do you try to get
Jesus.
points, or do you leave a dangerous body
Through
intact?
pain I
You
find
decide.
wisdom. Okay, buddy.
Of course, if you crit them the
Make
first
me
time,
a
they're not coming back.
bedside.
I admit I didn't like the system too much at first. It felt strange. But as I got more points and more equipment, I really started to appreciate it. Immediately firing off your most powerful weapon often isn't the best course to take. Carefully planning your attacks and skills will get you the best outcome. Like the dungeons, there's opportunity here as well. Remember the awakening meter? Well, it's here too and doesn't stop. Every time you go to a new turn phase, the bar fills up. In battle, there are sometimes Necron computers that you can break to reduce it, which means wasting attacks that you could have used on a Tomb King. At the same time, you can have a tech priest scan it for money. You can't do that if the computer's already blown up. You go for the money, or shoot at range before the meter gets higher. You have to balance all of this out, and at the same time, expect the unexpected.
Jesus.
This is a tomb. You think you have it all figured out, then suddenly a giant platform raises and you have new problems. An eye needs to be kept in the platforms that move around. There are little turret traps, the big kids' meal turret traps. Sarcophagi that spit out more angry skeletons at the worst possible time. You might make a risky power play only to find out that it was the worst possible thing you could have done. The early game can be brutal, and that's not the worst of it. Sometimes a battle will have an objective like escape. There's an angry horde coming for you, get all your boys to this square. So you barely make it and, surprise, now you need to wipe them out. All of them. Once again, this only happens
my
some of the time.
God.
This is something I hated starting out, but it made more sense later. For now I want to move on to the third part of the game so I could go back through it with proper context. This is the downtime aboard your ship when you manage your army. When you complete a mission, you get all kinds of rewards, including new equipment. There are tons of different weapons and equipment
Jesus.
pieces. You likely won't see every one in a single playthrough. This extends to troops and their upgrades. The currency, called Blackstone, can be used to spec out your priests. Each tree will unlock 4 pieces of special class armor, but other than that, you could equip anything on anyone. You just need enough slots to fit the equipment, and you get more as you level up. These guys can get way up there too. They could multi-class right from the get-go. The other use of cash is to take regular troops with you on missions. Your basic servitors will be free, but more advanced troops will start costing. You have unlimited troops in storage, so if you do plan permadeath, only priests don't come back if they die. That hurts a lot, but you can throw more troops at him. You can build around this. One of the classes is all about buffing lesser soldiers. As for the missions, you choose which ones you do and when. Mechanicus has multiple endings based on what you do or don't do. Be careful. This is also how you get most of your equipment, and it is semi-random in each playthrough. The Mechanicus has many needs, but you may not be able to fill them all. Oh right, that awakening meter is global. The more each tomb wakes up, the more the whole damn planet wakes up. You don't want that, so taking optional fights to reduce the awakening may be worth your time. There are many more smaller mechanics to this game, but those are the important ones for context. Now that you have that, I can go back through it and not sound like I'm speaking hieroglyphics. Okay, let's go again. So you get your cohort all picked out for a mission. You also pick your canicles, your once permission powers, but I won't get into those. We're back to the dungeon. Overall, I think this part is good. Exploration is risky, but also very
That's
rewarding.
a lot of shit, bro.
Finding a powerful weapon or special piece of equipment is just as permanent as having an awakening meter go up. It has solid balance in that regard. I'm actually one of those people who doesn't mind the random events. I'd rather have this over the game just telling me the answer, but I do see where an improvement can be made. I wish events had the blue option. In the game FTL, you go on exploring with a crew in a spaceship, and random events pop up there too. Outcomes aren't guaranteed, unless you have the blue option. This is always a good result. You only get them if you have a special piece of equipment or a crew member for the job. The more diverse your crew and equipment, the better chance you have for solving one of these problems.
Oh, it's like in RPG if you have a skill check that, you can make.
You can see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
With so many weapons and pieces of equipment and troop types, something like this would be perfect in Mechanicus. Maybe you only get the Purge with Flame option if you have a flamethrower. Or how about a Castellan robot in your party? That is a flamer. They're also known for their stable machine spirits.
Wait.
Party.
Look
That
at
is a flamer.
Look at the picture of the robot. Why does the robot have cute eyes?
They're also known for their stable machine spirits. It would be a nice addition. It could also lead into a more balanced party, which I'll get into more soon. The combat in Mechanicus is great. The core to your victories will be tactical thinking, but unexpected things happen just often enough to keep it interesting. Again, the presentation is exceptional. The impact and sound of weapons, the physics of how bodies fly around, everything about it makes combat satisfying. The points and class system means you have a ton of options for playstyles. For example, the troop buff class I mentioned. Troop attacks cost no points, which is huge. The catch is that deploying them in each battle costs points. More advanced troops will cost more. So while they are effective, they require setup, which you could have been attacking with. Until you have your secular class in the field. He can call in the most dangerous units anywhere for 1 point. He can use a skull to buff troops. This man can order a firing line. You can take 2 of these guys in a squad of troops and be fine. There's also a medic class. They can heal and cleanse and wait. That claw can heal a bunch of health and anyone can put it on? If your priests are hurt at the end of a mission, it costs money to repair them, so everyone should have this. There's a skill reducing a weapon attack by 2 points and it's right at the top. I can easily multi-class everyone into this. Now everyone can have a ridiculous AoE weapon. The first shot costs the same as a normal weapon now. The final skill of a melee class sacrifices 2 ranged weapons for that. So,
Wait, what?
Final skill of a melee class sacrifice.
If no ranged weapons are equipped, +1 damage, 3 meters movement, 1 physical armor, 1 energy armor, 15 critical chance. Sounds good, I guess. I don't know how good the ranged weapons are, but
ranged weapons
it's a lot of fucking stats.
So, axe or
Axe? Oh. Yeah, I will keep the ranged weapons, I think. Jesus fucking Christ.
I think this game needs some
Is
class
there a friendly
rebalancing,
fire?
maybe some item restrictions. Because once you're past the early game, the challenge could get easy and fast, even on the hardest difficulty. And I'm not saying everything should be restricted. Maybe just the highest level of specialized equipment. Just enough so the medic class isn't virtually useless and really situational. Because everyone could be a medic who heals nearly as much. I'd love to use a pure melee class if it had some neat abilities. Maybe they could have a skill to instantly blow up a Necron computer in range but still get the money from it. Something similar to the CP scanner. Naturally, there are special options to restrict things more. Maybe they could be turned on by default in a Praise the Omnissiah difficulty or something like that. 1 part 1 priest is an interesting way to play, but I still like to multi-class. At bare minimum, I think some class things need to be rearranged, because there is great stuff here. As it is, I just find it too easy to make a god class once you know what you're doing. I did try to avoid it because I like having a varied squad.
Oh shit, I love min-maxing like a motherfucker. Okay, this game, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be playing this game on stream at some point. We have too many fucking games to play on stream.
I wish the choices seemed more natural and synergetic. As is, it feels like gimping myself. I don't know, maybe the fumes are getting to me.
What the? Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that guy on the top left? What's that on his head?
Wait. No, no! It's like every game is happening at once. I don't know how to... Is that Linus Tech Priest?
In segments, this galaxy is infested with
is happening?
Moving on. Don't get me wrong, the game
Moving
is still
on,
tons
okay.
of fun. There's a lot of joy in setting up your attacks and moves, even if you do want to make the most OP build possible. The core of the gameplay works, and it works wonderfully. It just needs some adjustment. There's also the bug, and I call it the bug because it's the only one I noticed, but boy. A few of the beam weapons claim that they cannot hit a thing in front of them, and I know it's not just me. Sometimes it won't say it's locked to a target no matter what. Sometimes it won't aim well or fire across a gap. Sometimes it will refuse to aim at all, and sometimes it's like the gun's not even on. Usually I could fix it by just moving a space, but this is a disaster waiting to happen. And by that I mean someone will start breathing really hard and typing really fast. Probably me. It never happens with the guns that can fire through walls. I'm guessing the others see objects so they shouldn't. Another issue is I think they need a few more map layouts. There are some great unique maps, but by the end you'll notice some repeating, especially if you play with a higher difficulty for more fights. And that marks the end of my big issues with the game. Looking at the footage editing this, I actually want to go play it some more, but I'll talk about the story too.
Okay.
It's shockingly engaging. The premise is simple, defeat the Necrons, and what should we do with them when we do? It's the exceptional dialogue writing that makes it stand out. The conflict over Pulverize or Preserve is well developed, and there are good arguments on either side. The more you learn about the Necrons, the more parallels you see. The presentation gives the sense of weight to everything. Like, what happens here will have gigantic ramifications. It's rare to see this scale of importance in the big picture when it comes to a 40k game, but here it is. And it's being delivered by really engaging dialogue.
Hey, this is my first time seeing a female robot woman, I don't know. You know, Martian. I wonder
I've
if
also been
she's
playing with the Heretek DLC,
got
so
some
I should explain what that's
enchantment
all
down
about.
there.
As the name might imply, you fight Rogue Mechanicus. There are new weapons, new equipment, and a new class to fiddle with.
Wait,
You
what?
also get
Wait,
two-
whoa, I missed something vital.
I've also been playing with the Heretek DLC, so I should
Heretek
explain what that's all
DLC.
about.
Okay.
As the name might imply, you fight Rogue Mechanicus. There are new weapons, new equipment, and a new class to fiddle with. You also get 2 new types of troops, though I never found much of a use for the Infiltrator, which is a shame because I love the look of it.
Ooh,
The new
Infiltrator.
class I'd put firmly in the needs work category. The Zenerite class is sort of a flagellant type. The more health they lose, the deadlier their crit potential, and they have some minor heals of their own. This culminates in them being able to resurrect once per battle. I typically love playing these kinds of classes,
What?
but this one didn't gel for me. It could have been more appealing if it had some bonuses to the new weapons. It does not.
Oof.
I don't know what to make of it. But hey, there are heretics to kill. They're spread across new map types aboard your ship, and they look great. Unfortunately, there are only 5 new missions. They're spread out in parallel with the main campaign, so you can't go through it all at once.
Oh,
There's also no exploring section. This time you get to choose your own adventure. It determines your place on the map, your objective, and a few other things. So the missions can be slightly different on replay. They do make for challenging enemies since they have the same weapons and resources as you do, and their inclusion does help break up the constant reconfiguring pyramids in the game. The writing is as good as ever, and the new missions are welcome, there's just not much of it. Its biggest impact will likely be the new goodies spread across the main campaign. I wouldn't call it bad. If you really like the game, it's probably worth the money. If you're on the fence or short on cash, you're not missing a ton by skipping it. It does have 9 minutes of new music. That could be worth it. Okay, let's wrap this up.
9
Despite
minutes
its
of new
flaws, this is
music.
a fantastic game. It's in my top 3 40k games for sure. It introduces the setting
Wow.
well and is a good candidate for someone's first 40k game. I highly recommend
Wow.
it if you like the genre. There
Okay.
could be something here for you even if you don't. The devs
Okay.
have added things like free missions, and the game is coming to consoles soon, so I suspect there will be more to come from Mechanicus. Personally, I'd love to see the new ship tile sets used for a base ship defense mission set. I didn't mention the other game, I'm not starting now. Speaking of meters, this video has a timer on it. Inspired by a friend, I contacted the Polish Information Network to send a message to the devs. If it worked, the game should be more than half off on GOG from the link in the pinned comment. If not, well, would only be for a few days anyways.
Okay.
Regardless of what you have it on, I
Okay.
do have a request. If you have it on Steam or some platform with a review system, and you liked it, go ahead and leave a positive review. I never asked for that, so why would I? As you may know, in the past few years there have been some stinky, borderline cash grab 40k games. It was to the point that I think the brand is tainted when it comes to video games now. The reviews let others like me who passed this by for so long know. This one isn't a dumpster fire. This one is good. Check it out. I'll see you next time for
This
the
is
fantasy
not
game.
dumpster fire as he puts the Necrons on
Summon the
fire.
Elector Counts.
Oh shit. Karol! Karol! My boy Karol Franz. Okay. Okay. I enjoyed this shit. We're gonna play this game for sure on stream, okay? We're gonna play this shit on stream. I'm excited. Anyway, quick thank you to the patrons. Pedro Martinez, Commands Call You and Rob Bear, Prince Zeta, Swast, Eric Fuels, Chicken 53, Senior Hilter, Lemon and Moon, Eichmer. Thank you all. Thank you for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time, okay? Okay. We'll be streaming soon. Anyway, have a nice fucking day.